Hello everyone, welcome to the Game and Frame preview of spring season for the Cosmopolitan League. I am delighted to be joined today by Mike Carducci, the manager of Central Park Rangers Red, also on the CSL board. Thank you so much for joining me, Mike.
Hey, no problem.
So my first question, Mike, and this is a burning one I've had for a while. I noticed when we streamed you guys against Desportiva, your goalkeeper showed up late and you had a 10-minute cameo in goal, which you kept a clean sheet for, right? So as far as I'm concerned, that is a clean sheet on the stat sheet. How many clean sheets have you kept this season?
Three of them so far. I haven't been scored upon. It's amazing. And opponents, I think, are just blown away.
So you probably are you technically are the best goalkeeper in terms of ratio in the entire CSL structure.
Yeah, for not counting minutes played, sure, I'll go for that.
Yeah, all right, okay. We'll start with that. So I wanted to first, before we talked about how fall season went and spring season, I want to first ask you a bit about the history of Central Park Rangers, because I know there's a really good one with the CSL. So can you tell me sort of when did Central Park Rangers start as an entity, and what has kind of been the journey to Division 2?
CPR has been around since the late 1990s. We're definitely one of the oldest clubs in the league. I've only been aboard maybe 7 or 8 years now. I came aboard from other clubs that I was within the league. And as far as the structure for the club goes, it's for those people who are familiar with the club know that it's a pretty big one as well. We have multiple teams and multiple tiers, multiple levels. We used to have, a D1 team. The Reds were always in D2. And then over 30, over 40 type deals. But we kind of lost our Division 1 team because they were kind of on that cusp, like before the EPSL came along. So they were always getting promoted and then relegated, promoted, then relegated. And then the coach who was in charge of it, I think he had one too many relegations and couldn't do it anymore. And then at that point, the team fell apart. I was excited because here we are in D2, kind of like a mid-table team in Division 2, historically speaking. And I was like, oh great, I'm going to get all these D1 level players, and they all pieced out. So so that wasn't fun. But I think the direction of the club is kind of back on track, and we're headed that way because we have multiple Division 3 teams right now, and hoping if things go well for us the rest of the season that the Reds will be up in D1, and then we'll have a D2 team as well with first and reserves there.
So yeah, you guys are sitting top of the table right now, as you said. It's looking pretty good. What has been the highest point of full season for you guys?
The highest point of the season? The highest point of the season, you want to know something? It was probably early on in the season, at least for me, when I realized that, hey, we might have something special here. I really started believing probably around the third game of the season, and especially when we went up to Missile as well. I really like we just did not have our full club, like our full team there. Probably had a couple of reserves playing in the first team game, just because the drive going up to Rockland was something. And I just had a bad feeling about that game, just like struggling all week to get guys. And then after we actually had a really comfortable win, we actually brought one of the players up from the reserves, and he worked. He just clicked with the other guys, and it just worked at that position. And it kind of went up from there. So even though it was really early in the season, that 2 or 3 game in played, I thought that maybe we had something special as long as we can keep it together, not have guys missing and this, that, and other thing. So the previous season, the half season that we just had in 2021, I just got hit with so many injuries. It was just left and right, and it was just really demoralizing. But when we hit that point where we kind of took off, I think it was probably the highlight or the high part, even though it was really early. I hate to say that, but it was at least a really good sign.
And I hate to bring up spring 2021 because I know it was a painful one. And I also know my voice is forever now attached to that pain because I was commentating that Sanzak game. But you guys came very close. I know that there was some kind of misfortune with the way some fixtures timed out for you guys as well, which evaporated that lead you had. But what kind of motivation did it give you guys coming so close for this season?
Surprisingly, it was almost a blessing in disguise, I think. But I think we ended up getting a couple players back to the club, um, and they were motivated to get started because they were like, "Oh wow, I saw you guys came so close. Can I get involved again?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, sure. It's a great player, so let's sign them up." They were on our previous teams in years past. Yeah, so that missing out on promotion last year was really tough. The guys were pissed, but I think it also motivated them as well. So it motivated the team to stay together and improve together. I think it brought us more as a cohesive unit as opposed to guys hanging their heads. So and like I said, in some sense, it might have been a blessing in disguise, but it was still obviously really disappointing.
And you mentioned that Central Park Rangers, when you kind of joined, they were still seen in Division Two as the mid table team. Now, obviously, you guys are really the team to beat in the league. Everyone's coming after you. What do you think has been the biggest thing you guys have improved? Over the years to progress from being mid table to one of the best.
Well, with the restructuring of like D1 and D2, and then obviously when the EPSL came along, that I think evened the table, even things up as far as the CSL is concerned. So it's not a huge difference between D1 and D2 right now. Obviously, there's some D1 teams at the top of the table that are ridiculously good, but for the most part, it's not that far off. I think, even even some teams that might not be having the best season right now can sort of compete against some of the D1 teams, or even heading up to the middle of the table. So I think that helps. That at least not that it helps, but even though it leveled the playing field, that's for sure. And I think we saw that as an opportunity where we can build towards and not be afraid of going up to D1. Like I know it's happened in the past before the EPSL came about that some teams like might want to win D2 but might not want to go up and play in D1. So I think the league's a lot more even now, and it's a lot more fun, I think.
Nice. And in terms of the run you guys have had, has there been any? You might not want to talk about individual players, but has there been one or two players that have really stood out to you this season for their contribution?
I mean, there's a couple, but I think the biggest part of it is really that the team is a lot more cohesive now than it was even last year when we had some good success. Just like the way that the team has come together from top to bottom, and we're talking about the first team here, obviously. The reserves are doing really, really well, but we had so much turnover in the past, say, 4 or 5 years, that it was just a constant struggle of saying, hey, like, not just can we get 11, 12, 13 guys to the field every Sunday, but it was like, are they first team quality? And I think right now, from top to bottom, that we have first team level players from from the top of the roster to the bottom of the roster, and just those players, and our bench is so strong, and just everybody is so together and in it. Like we don't have any attitudes, we don't have any divas, I don't think we have any jerks, but I'm sure some other teams might disagree. But yeah, it's just a great atmosphere to be around. I think that's why a lot of players are kind of drawn to the CPR Reds at this point.
So it sounds like as a manager, you're in a really good situation. You've got a good level of players, consistent level, and you've got good personality. So with that kind of your disposal, what has been the kind of way you've wanted CPR to play now that you've got these assets?
I mean, we're all about attack, I think. We want to get possession, keep possession, work the ball through the middle if it's not there. I mean, like some teams have adapted to, like, our last game, even, again, we didn't have our full roster, but I don't think they did either. Our last game of the fall was against FC Japan. I just think they came out with a ridiculously good game plan against us. I don't know if they saw us play or studied the live streams, but whatever it was, those guys always play us hard, at least the past few years. And that game was really, really tough, and it was really frustrating. So I think teams know that we want to possess the ball. We don't just blast. We don't just blast it forward and hope one of our speedy forwards can run onto it and make something happen. But I think we're versatile we're versatile enough to do that if we had to, where we have different playing methods. And I mean, it's just me on the sidelines. Like, I'm not a coach. I tell everybody, I was like, I'm a manager, but we don't have a coach. We kind of coach ourselves. Yeah, if there's any coaches out there, by the way, give me a call. But we just we've got a great group, and they play together, and we can adapt to, I think, pretty much anything. Even though, I think our bread and butter is that, possession through the middle, sprayed out wide, get some crosses in, get some shots on goal, and hope for the best.
So now being top of the table, spring season is approaching. You've got, I mean, it's an incredible kind of top 5 race, right? I'm looking at the table right now, and it's like Japan is only 7 points behind you, but they have a game in hand. So presuming they win their game in hand, or in your international days, you've got 3 teams within 4 points of you. What do you guys need to do in the second half of this season to maintain that top spot?
You know what? I told our guys more than a couple of times this season that, the only team that's going to beat us is ourselves, and that's not being cocky. I think that's being, that's me playing the part as the manager, as saying, like, hey guys, like, if we stick this out together and we're committed, and we do our thing and come here as a cohesive group, that we believe that we're the best team out there. And then maybe not, we might not run the table, but hey, you want to know something? Like, we're going to be a tough out every single week. And you know what, maybe we have bullseyes on our back at this point, but it's something that we're looking forward to, and the guys are excited. So we really want to play this out and get going, stay healthy, and and see how it goes.
There's going to be some really, really big games, obviously. They're going to have, some real 6-pointers. Out of all the teams that you're going to face in spring, is there one team you're really looking forward to playing against?
Oh man, it would probably, the guys are probably most pumped to play. It's probably going to be New York International again, because that was the team that we lost to. Those guys played us ridiculously well when we played them. We made a couple of mistakes, and they came away with the 3 points. So if that's the team that we wanted to get back at, that'll be circled on the calendar for sure. So that would be my 2 cents on that.
You've got, as I said, you've got these 4 teams who are all hot on your heels. Is there any particular one which you really look at, you're like, they're our biggest threat? Or is it sort of, you look at, it could be any of them?
It really could be any of them. Like, I saw Missile play a couple of times, and they're in second place right now. And they're just so fast and so skilled. Like, it's almost, I look back at that game when we played them, especially without, like our top starting 11, so to speak. And I still don't know how we came away with such a, I don't want to say an easy win, but it was comfortable in the end. But it was tight for a while. But the final score doesn't say that. So they deserve to be there. Obviously, Japan just, I mean, this just comes out as professional as can be always. So we're obviously going to be looking at that game. The New York International game is obviously going to be a big one. I think Ukrainians is probably there as well, and I think we only beat them 2-1. I mean, I think that was the first game of the season.
Yeah.
But I really want to take a look at the schedule when it comes out and see how we can manage this. It's going to be week in and week out. Pressure's going to build, but we just want to have fun and kind of see it out, and not to put too much pressure on ourselves, but obviously we want to win and want to come in first.
So I've asked every manager that I've spoken to this question, disregarding tactics, disregarding all the complicated stuff. What does your gut tell you? Where does your gut tell you Central Park Rangers are going to finish in the table?
We're going to finish first, man. That's what we're going to do it. They're going to do it this year. No excuses.
Love it. And I just wanted to, I wanted to ask a couple of questions as well about just the Cosmopolitan League in general, because I know you've been involved for many years. You're vice president there. How have you seen the league change over the years in terms of, standards of play and also the community?
Yeah, well, I mean, standard of play is, with separating the EPSL teams from the Cosmopolitan teams was obviously a big thing. But I think in the grand scheme of New York City soccer and the surrounding areas. We kind of had to do that to expand the the growth of not just the Cosmopolitan League, but also building up towards the EPSL. We want teams to strive towards that level, competing with the Lansdowne boys and the Greek Americans and the Penn Cyprians and Doxas up there as well, like Zom Schneider. Like those teams are just what we all want to compete with, but obviously finding those players is tough. But with so much talent in the New York City area, it's just something to look forward to and to look up to, and with that we can kind of build the teams out of D2 and up into D1. Like we saw, like a team like Richmond County is at the top of the table in D1 right now. Like those guys were like D3 maybe 2 or 3 years ago. So maybe it wasn't that long ago. And just the talent they have on that team is just like, you just watch them like, oh my God, like like teams like Hoboken, like you see someone like them, it's like I don't want to play them. We gotta build up there. But it's just like the growth of New York soccer is just, it's great to be around right now. And it's something that at least we're looking forward to, and we want to compete against, but it's one step at a time, so we don't get ahead of ourselves. Oh, and Borgetto as well, obviously.
So not forget Borgetto. Borgetto is coming in the words of Coach Mohorovic.
Coach Evo,
Coach Evo, You said you didn't want to get a step of yourself, but I do have to ask you as well. In 5 years, right? If everything went exactly how you kind of hoped, where would Central Park be? I'm sure it's in Division 1 or maybe even higher. But what would be the ideal state for Central Park?
Yeah, I mean the way that we're kind of structuring it now is what I foresee in 5 years, where you should be at least for a couple of years at that point. Like we want to have a team in D1, first and reserves. We want to have a team in D2 like we used to, first and reserves, and a couple of feeder teams, and maybe two in D3, maybe 1 or 2 in D4. Like, it's a big club, and we don't have to keep adding teams. But if people want to play in this club, and as long as we have the management to run it, and we don't get too ahead of ourselves, I don't see why not. And we want to build it so that the teams can keep playing and have playing over 30, playing over 40, and it's just fun to be around. That's really what we want to have, is that structure where it's talking long term as opposed to just now.
All right. Well, Mike, it was really great to talk. Thanks so much for coming on. I'm really excited to follow this Division 2 title race. I think as a neutral, it's going to be as dramatic as last year. I hope for your sake that it's there's not as much heartbreak. How you couldn't take another heartbreak, right?
No, I can't do it. I don't think I can. I don't think I can physically take it if that happens again.
All right, I'm praying for you then. But yeah, thank you so much. It's a pleasure talking to you.
Anytime, man. Next time I'll wear a different color shirt. Promise.
All right. Okay. So, yeah.
Take care.
Yeah. All right. Take care.
Have a good night.